Welcome to Finding the Fire. The fire inside is what drives us. Left unattended, it can burn out of control. In Finding the Fire, Cindy Jacobson speaks with guests, telling stories of trauma and triumph. In sharing our experiences, we find connection and understanding. Join her now as we burn through the walls of separation. Get ready for Finding the Fire, and let's find your spark.
We found our spark last night.
Oh my gosh, so fun.
That was so fun. But we'll get to that later.
Yes, so good. So good.
Yes. So,
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. It's been a week or two.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Been a little busy.
There's been some things happening.
A few.
A lot. You've been busy.
We've been having fun. We've been finding the fire.
Gosh, it's
like
the end of
burning
the year
down the walls
almost.
of separation. It's almost the holiday, and 2020 is tomorrow.
Pretty
or it
much.
was yesterday. I don't know.
It's like we're there. We're on the brink. So it's time to okay, reflect on what happened since we visited everyone last. We've had a glow party. Last night we did something really awesome. You've just been busy helping people just find their light.
Yes.
Yeah,
Find the light.
Find their fire.
Find connections. Burn through separation.
Yeah.
Any way we can.
Yeah, so we had the glow party.
We had the glow party.
It was fun. Kids came, families came, spouses came.
Yes.
I brought my daughter. It was really, really fun. You got to tell your story a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. Just a tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you like? What was your favorite part of that?
My favorite part was the kids, the kids, the teenagers, the younger kids, all being part of it and really kind of starting to understand the connection and how, we're not damaged and how we're all just perfect the way we are. And
I loved how you said you showed a glow stick and then you broke it and it lit up a little bit. So when something happens to us, it's like, oh my gosh, there's something that happens. So you try to cover it up.
Yeah. Because we think it's bad.
Yeah. So that's what we do is stuff it, right? Cover it up. And I was just watching the teenagers that were sitting there listening to your story and this happened to me, my husband committed suicide. I've lost a baby and told these things were normally we wouldn't talk about. So you covered up that bright spot with your hands because that's what we do. But if you look, it's really what's making you glow. What's making you, right? So I was watching from kind of backstage kind of viewpoint and the teenagers were just into every word you had to say. You could tell that you were speaking their language. They were just enthralled with what you had to say.
Yeah. Teenage age is so hard, right? Middle school, high school, you're really trying to find out who you are and you're really worried about your friends and what they think of you and if you do something that you think is wrong or if they think you don't fit in for whatever reason. So yeah, it's really important to really speak to that age group and let them understand we're all perfect the way we are. We don't have to hide who we are. And to realize that person over there probably is going through something hard too and we just don't see it because they're hiding it. So, and if you knew what they were going through, you might just be a little bit nicer to them.
A little bit nicer.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, it was just so great. And I hope that after we left that they were able to remember that and take it with them. Because I know I took a little bit more with me each time we talk about it. A little bit more goes in my mind, a little bit more, and you take a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
Each time. Yeah. But yeah, we had fun. They were dancing and we were able to just let loose after we did this heard your story and kind of reflected on our own stories.
And then we just had fun, played games, danced, played a human air hockey.
Yes, so good. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
the kids loved it.
Yeah.
They got to come in and express themselves by putting all the glow paint on and stuff, even though it was just little tattoos and stuff.
Well, and the fun part about the glow party is, right, you can show up as you are, and the lights go out and you don't have to feel uncomfortable because people can't see you, right?
Yeah.
All they can see is a little glowy thing here and there.
Yeah.
And so that's what's really fun about it. You can show up and be you and not have to worry because it's hey, we're all in the same boat here.
Yeah.
We're just gonna have fun together.
And there's no stories we told ourselves that you have to keep up a appearance of some sort. It's just all that is fun when the lights are off and it's just the glow all over and people are just dancing to music. So good. So good. So I know you have something coming up and we'll talk about that at the end of the show, but I wanted to just kind of segue and ask you, so you have this story that kind of weaves in and out, right? And as you were up there at the glow party telling your story, we touched on suicide, right? And I think that's when I saw the change. If I could remember back to when I was watching the youth from the stage, when you're just so vulnerable with them and open with them and like just raw, like let them see the parts that aren't necessarily easy to talk about. So I want to know more. Like, I want to know more if you will share just why suicide is, it's important to talk about. It's not.
It is
easy.
important to talk about, and it's not easy to talk about, and there's a stigma against it, and our youth are really, I mean, I think everybody knows right now the rates are just going higher, and kids are struggling more, and there's a lot of theories and reasons behind all that, but if we can just, you know, have a conversation and communicate about it, and burn down those barriers. But yeah, so my story with suicide and my first experience and encounter, I guess you want to say, with it was with my husband, and we got married super young. We were really young. Of course, we knew everything, you know, you do, as you do.
Yeah.
You got married young too, so you get it.
Yeah.
We get it. And I remember he asked me one day, he was like, no, let me back up. So he told me, like, if I hadn't met you, I would either be what did he call it? A hermit in the mountains, or I would have committed suicide. And I was like, oh, duh. You know, I'm young and blissfully in love. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like you're just saying that because you just love me so much, right? And I just didn't get it, didn't understand it, what he was really saying, because it never crossed my mind. And when it doesn't cross your mind, like people, these little nuggets of things people say, and they say them totally offhand, and it's not like an aha moment or like, oh my gosh, are you struggling? You know, it's just like these little breadcrumbs. And so that was the first time he ever brought it up. And of course it never hit my radar. And now looking back, you know, obviously 2020, but, and then just throughout our marriage, you know, whenever we would have like struggles with something, with finances or with school or things, he one of the major things for him was during nursing school. He failed a semester of nursing school, and I mean, that's not totally uncommon, right? People do that, and you just retake the semester and move forward. But for him, that was like a complete devastation, and he couldn't handle the idea of people knowing that he was a failure. And he called me on the way home from class that day, and it was out in Colorado City, and the drive through coming home, there's quite the steep turnoffs there, and there's, you know, if you take the wrong turn, you could be in some trouble. But so he was driving home, and he's like, I'm gonna drive over this cliff, goodbye, kiss the kids goodbye, you know. I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, and I was pregnant too, by the way, with our third baby. I was pregnant. And and he's like, I failed nursing school. I'm a failure. You deserve better. The kids deserve better. I can't face it. I don't want my family knowing. I don't want people knowing I'm a failure. I'm like, what are you know, like, and I tried to ration with him and reason with him and calm him down and be like, it's going to be okay. Like, you know, just take the semester over again. It's not that big of a deal. And he was like, there was no reasoning with him. And finally, like he's telling me where he's at. And I know, cause I drove that road when I went through nursing school every week. And he's like, oh, you know, here's the turn and goodbye, tell my kids goodbye. And I just lost it. I started screaming. Yeah,
I bet. Like, my gosh.
Yeah. And that for whatever reason, me screaming, like, snapped him out of what his goal was, which was to drive over the cliff. And he pulled over, and I was able to talk him into coming home and making a plan, and would cover it up. We won't tell anybody that you failed. Nobody will know. And, you know, and so he's like, okay. So that one was big. I mean, there was other ones too, looking back, but that one was like really big. The other ones in the past, I'm like, oh, whatever. What are you talking about? I mean, you know, but that one, I was like, okay, this is something real. And then anyway, without going into each story of the different times where he was struggling, when we lost a baby to SIDS when our baby was 4 months old, And that really put my husband on a downward spiral.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I can't even imagine, but
Yeah.
ugh.
And he just, that was just something he just couldn't seem to recover from. And so, yeah, anyway, after that he was attempting multiple times, multiple, until one time he was successful. And it was super hard for me because I felt the guilt of that. Like, I couldn't save him from taking his life. When I tried, I stopped. I mean, of course I tried every time, and I stopped him. Can't tell you how many times. Yeah. But still, like, the guilt behind that. I carried that for so long. Like, what could I have done differently? And, if we had just done this or said that or been here. And, but finally, just recent, like, the last couple of years, realized, like, it was not my fault. There is nothing I could have done differently. If somebody is that determined, it's their choice, and we have to honor that as well. Like,
that's right.
And love them for who they are, and not guilt them, because that's another thing. Like, putting pressure on somebody when they're in that state is like, oh, but you're gonna leave me, and you're gonna leave the kids, and that's like more of a stress and burden, because then he's like, oh, like, that's overwhelming. Like, they're already feeling their stress and their pressure, and then they realize, like, oh, all these other people are counting on me, and now it's even more of a weight. And that came in really big for me recently, really big, because somebody else was reaching out to me, and they were suicidal, and they were in and out of the hospital. And this was very recently, in and out of the hospital for attempts, and calling me a couple times a week in their stress and in their wanting to be talked down. And one day I realized that they didn't want to be talked down. They wanted permission to be them, no matter what that was. And if that was, I don't want to be here anymore, and it's my life, then, like, and I just said, look, I love you no matter what you choose. I love you, and there's nothing you can do that's going to make me love you less. And something switched from that. It just gave them their own power back, instead of, before it was like this struggle and this battle. It's like, I'm going to do this, and then you're going to react this way. And then, it's like this, you get in this cycle. But just showing them love, and just say, look, I love you no matter what. There's nothing you could do that's going to make me love you less. And something switched in them, and they just have been completely different. I don't get those calls anymore. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not saying that everything's roses, but I'm saying that they're not in that cycle, that perpetual cycle now, because
but they
finally
knew they could
realized,
come to you and call.
Yeah. And they realized that they had autonomy, and they had love. Like, they needed to feel loved, and they needed to realize, like, this is my choice. And do I really want that? Or am I doing that to get a reaction out of somebody?
Yes.
So there's just so much behind it. And of course, you just have to feel into every situation and decide what's right for that person. But really, they just need that love and that connection, and to know that they're worth it and their value, no matter what, no matter if they didn't get the best grades, or no matter if they don't do what they're told to do by religious leaders or parents or teachers, or no matter if, whatever it looks like, especially our youth, because they're so bombarded with our labels and what we think they should be. I know I did that with my own children. I'm like, oh, my kids will this, and they will that, and they will be perfect, and they're going to be all these things. And we don't get to choose. They get to choose. They get
to have their own choice. Yeah. What the heck?
I mean, that's what this life is about, right? Is choice. We get the choice. And of course, we want to guide our children in the right direction. But if they don't see life the way we see it, for us to put our beliefs into them and push them
farther away,
push them farther away or further into darkness, no, let's not put that burden on them. But and then just also just realize, like, the connection is where it's at, and, like, just not feeling alone, not feeling alone in life, whatever's going on, and that's really the whole, these glow parties are fun. Let's admit they're fun. I would do them every night.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
So fun.
But really what it is just you get to be you, and you get to get, outside of everything else. You don't have to think, you don't have to talk, you don't have to do anything. You just get to show up. You just get to have fun. You just get to realize other people are there just to show up and have fun. And realize life can be hard. There's a lot to deal with in life, but
it sure can.
Oh my gosh.
It can sure be hard, right?
It is hard, but we make it harder on ourselves. And we all go through the muck, right? We all have we all have it, whatever it looks like.
We all have the muck.
and do we want to stay in that muck?
Right.
Or do we want to just be like, okay, that sucked, but let's
but letting someone else know, I noticed that at the glow party, you have a tribe, right?
Yeah.
You got a team here.
There's people that are going to have your back. They're going to be here.
You're building a family almost, just people that are wanting to find their fire and share it.
Yeah. And that's really, and the other thing that I really emphasize is when you're really in your darkness, whatever it is, if you're feeling suicidal, if you've lost a baby, if you have cancer, whatever your darkness is, and we all have it at times, it looks different for everybody, but we all have it. And if you're stuck in that darkness and you can't look outside of it, that's when things go downhill, right?
And it seems hopeless.
Yeah, you're just in this dark spot, like my husband wanting to drive over that cliff. He couldn't get out of his head that he was a failure and not good enough and all those things, and he was so stuck in that he couldn't focus on anything else. And no amount of whatever, but would talk him out of that because he was so focused on it. But when I started screaming and crying and being like, you can't leave me with these babies. I'm pregnant. That's what I was screaming. I'm pregnant. We have 2 babies. You can't leave me alone. That made him realize, wait a minute, whatever my darkness is, I need to help her, keep her light, in that moment. But
it's amazing how helping somebody else helps you heal.
Yeah. And so just looking up out of your darkness, helping somebody else next to you, whether they're, they can be in a deeper darkness or not as much of a darkness as you, but just going out and connecting with somebody and realizing, oh, there's other suffering in the world. My suffering isn't the only suffering, and I want to help that person. Yeah. And so the other big piece of this whole umbrella of finding the fire and glow parties is what is it that connects with you? What relates to you? Is it sex trafficking? Is it suicide? Is it helping homeless people? What is it that calls to your heart? Do you have a loss of a child and you want to help other people in that situation? What is it that drives you that you can look outside of yourself and connect with somebody else and help somebody else through their dark spot? And just making those connections, coming to these glow parties and being I had a couple people just show up and pop in and say, hey, this is what I'm going through, and it's a piece of something that they related to through the stories we share, And they're like, well, what do I do? And I'm like, you know what? I have the perfect connection for you, the perfect nonprofit over here. Call this number, reach out to them. They can help you through. And that's what it's about, is making those connections, whatever it's like.
And helping each other, and being helping aware that you can help somebody no matter where you are in your life, dark or light, wherever you're feeling that day. Anybody can do something to help someone else.
Yes.
Yeah. It can even just be something small. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a humongous thing.
Yeah. And it can be totally anonymous. And actually anonymous is so fun. So nice. It's
yeah.
A lot of, our ego sometimes is oh, I want to do this thing, but then I want recognition for it. But if you want to do that thing and get no recognition for it, wow. Yeah. That's huge. But, recognition is good too. So we deserve it. We deserve recognition for our efforts, you know. So we do like to do that too, and honor people that help out and volunteer and donate and
yeah, for sure. But there's an extra special, like just paying for the person behind you, or just, you know, being more patient with the person that's in front of you driving really slow, or trying to help a mom at the store that's struggling with the car seat, like help her. We've all been there, girls. Like just taking a second to just look where you're needed to help.
And if like the cashier is having a grumpy day, like how many of us have heard these stories? Oh my gosh, I went to this store and I was checking out and the cashier was so grumpy. Yeah. And then they perpetuate that story. But it's like, what if you just like smiled at that cashier and said, hey, how are you doing today? You know? And
totally change the tone.
And see if there's something you can, I mean, even if it's a smile, even if it's anything, yeah, it can really connect with them. And I've had a few cashiers say to me, thank you for asking me, because I've had a really rough day and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, good. And then they were like, now I feel better, because they were able to release.
You may never ever see that person again, but you were able to be there.
Yeah.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah. It's so cool.
Yeah. So last night we did a really cool thing that has to do with fire. So,
and you know me,
tell us all about it. This is your jam. Fire's pretty magical.
Fire is magical. Yeah. Fire is an alchemist to burn through all our crap. Okay. Yes. Like it will do the heavy lifting for you. Like, so yeah, last night we honestly, it was impromptu. We were going to get some girls together in a hot tub. It was going to just be a good
girls'
time.
Yeah.
And it was.
Yeah, it was really fun.
But so last minute, I'm like, hey, let's do this fire ceremony. I connected with this amazing, beautiful soul who trained in Peru and Guatemala and in the traditional ways and with fire ceremony, and brought her in, and she
so awesome.
Yeah, and it's perfect timing being end of 2019, right? And releasing all the garbage we don't want to take on to 2020, and then setting our intentions for 2020 and
I loved how we got to write down things we want to let go of.
Yes. It was
and like the winter solstice, isn't that coming?
Yeah, the winter solstice, which is like
it's coming. So all of these cool things, and then the year's ending. So we had to like look at what we wanted to let go of, and I was like, oh, I want to let go of judging myself. Yeah, I want to let go of beliefs that like I can't do something, or any limiting beliefs of like, you know, setting an upper limit of different things. Like there's things I want to let go of, just like I'm so impatient.
Yes,
like
girl.
There's just so many things. So it made me sit, like we had to sit and reflect on like what we want to let go of, and then we got to partake in this whole fun thing.
And then we got to burn that, whatever it was we want to let go of. And
you have to tell anyone. I didn't tell anyone. Yeah, well, not tell everyone, but
yeah. But anyway, we got to burn that, like get rid of it, let it go. And then we just set in our intentions for what we want to call in. And it was just fun. It was a great time.
So fun.
And it was so powerful too. Like all the women there, like not all, I can't say all of them, but a lot of them came to me. They're like, oh my gosh, I was crying. I was in tears, because you could feel how powerful it was to just, you know, and put words behind it and like let it go. And
and like looking
and watch
at
it burn up in the fire. And it was interesting because, you know, everybody had the same piece of paper, and some people like had a lot of heavy stuff to let go of. And if you watch the fire, when they like put their paper in there, sometimes it would just went like they needed some powerful alchemy going on to release that. So, so that was
and
fun.
I think as moms, we just think like, I got it. We're going to do this by ourselves. We got it. We're just going to.
Yeah.
And that was important. That was like really powerful for me. Like I was able to look and reflect on what I want to accomplish, and I'm not alone. Like just let it go.
We're getting the shut up timer. So what we want to touch on with the whole fire thing is,
and the glow thing,
all the things.
New year, new you.
New year.
What the heck? Give it to us before we go.
I know.
This is gonna be sweet. I bet
awesome.
you we have Sam on the show.
Oh yeah, we need. Sam. Yeah, she's coming next week.
Okay.
So we are doing a girls' sleepover, moms' sleepover. Okay? Moms, or not just moms. not
Or
just
not
moms,
moms.
but 18 or over.
Adult age.
Just because it's
please.
adult. And we are going to be doing a fire ceremony there. And we're going to be doing a glow party there. And we're going to be braiding hair and having pajamas.
I can't even
and,
imagine, like when you were explaining that, I'm like, that
popcorn
sounds so
and,
fun. I
like,
think girls' camp or something was the
my
last time I did that
gosh.
when I was a teenager. So
I
this will be
know.
perfect.
Like, how fun was it to have sleepover when we were young? And we don't get that as adults because we're so,
So
busy.
fun.
And we're so like just on to the next thing and taking
So it's
care
like a
of
sleepover
everything.
/ retreat.
It's a sleepover mini retreat, but
Yeah.
it's going to be amazing and it's going to be powerful. And we are going to do a fire ceremony there. We're going to have a glow party. We're going to braid hair. We're
There's going to be
to
a giant disco ball, I heard.
we got the hookup for a disco
Woo,
ball.
yeah.
Woo. It's going to just be a good time. And it's
It's
out at
gonna be
Sand
so
Hollow.
So 111.
111.
111.
111.
All the ones.
All the ones. So yeah, we'll drop a link on Finding the Fire, and Samantha Parker calling you out. She doesn't even know yet, but she's gonna be here next week. So we will talk to her then, and we will see you guys. Oh, not next week because it's Christmas.
You've been
Bye.
listening
Merry
to
Christmas.
Finding the Fire,
Thank you. Shut
where we are finding deeper connections through sharing our life experience. Being placed in foster care, losing a child to SIDS, and a husband to suicide, Cindy has turned her story into the fuel that drives her. To be featured as a guest, go to findingthefire.com. Cindy is a former NICU nurse, a foster parent, has started a nonprofit, helps others, and supports her family by selling real estate. To find out more, go to involvedcommunity.com.